Imagine reaching a point where you finally have the life you spent years chasing. A prestigious career, a six-figure income, the kind of job title that makes people instantly assume you are successful. Now imagine walking away from it. Not because you lost everything, not because you were forced out, but because you discovered that the thing you thought would create freedom was quietly becoming the thing controlling your life. This is the story of Daniel. At 34 years old, Daniel was earning over $300,000 a year working in investment banking. To most people, his life looked perfect. He lived in a high-rise apartment, worked in one of the most competitive industries in America, and had a future that seemed almost guaranteed. His friends saw the salary. His family saw the achievement. LinkedIn saw the success. But nobody saw the cost. Because behind the paycheck was a reality that many high earners eventually face. The more money he earned, the more complicated his life became. Every year, his income increased. But somehow the feeling of being financially free never arrived. The bonus that once felt life-changing eventually became normal. The expensive dinners became expected. The upgraded apartment became necessary. The lifestyle that was supposed to be a reward slowly became a requirement. And this is where most people misunderstand wealth. They think wealth begins when your income reaches a certain number. $100,000, $200,000, $500,000. But the truth is different. Income can give you options. But your decisions determine whether you actually become wealthy. Because someone earning $60,000 with control over their money may have more freedom than someone earning $300,000 who is trapped by their expenses. Daniel didn't realize this at first. He thought the solution was simple. Work harder, earn more, reach the next level. Because that is what society teaches. When you are struggling financially, make more money. When you make more money, upgrade your lifestyle. When you upgrade your lifestyle, work even harder to maintain it. And the cycle continues. But after years inside the world of finance, Daniel started noticing something strange. He was surrounded by people who understood money better than almost anyone. They analyzed companies. They studied investments. They advised clients on building wealth. Yet many of them were still financially dependent on their next paycheck. That observation changed the way he looked at money. Because the biggest financial mistake people make is not always spending too much. Sometimes it is misunderstanding what money is actually supposed to do. Money is not just meant to buy things. Money is supposed to buy choices. The choice to leave a bad situation, the choice to spend more time with family, the choice to pursue something meaningful. But many people use money in a way that creates the opposite result. They increase their income, then increase their obligations. They earn more but become less flexible. They become richer on paper but poorer in freedom. And this was the first lesson Daniel learned. A high income does not automatically create financial freedom, but the numbers reveal why. According to research in behavioral economics, humans naturally adjust their expectations as their circumstances improve. This is known as lifestyle inflation. A person gets a raise and feels excited, but after a while, the new income level becomes normal. The extra money disappears into new habits. A bigger home, a newer car, more expensive vacations, more subscriptions, more financial commitments. The problem is not enjoying life. The problem is when your lifestyle grows faster than your wealth. Because every lifestyle upgrade comes with a hidden cost, not just the price tag. The future income required to maintain it. A luxury apartment is not just a monthly payment. It is the additional hours of your life you must exchange to keep paying for it. A new car is not just the purchase price. It is insurance, maintenance, interest, and the years of work attached to that decision. This is why some high earners feel trapped. Their salary looks impressive, but their freedom is limited. Daniel started asking himself a question most people avoid. If I stopped working tomorrow, how long could my life continue? And the answer surprised him. Despite making more money than ever before, his financial independence was nowhere near where he thought it should be. Because he had built income, but he had not built enough ownership. And that distinction is where the second lesson begins. Most people focus on earning money. Wealthy people focus on owning things that can produce money. There is a difference. A paycheck stops when you stop working. An asset can continue working even when you are not. This is why wealthy people often think differently. They ask, how can I increase my income? But they also ask, how can I make my money create more opportunities? Investments, businesses, ownership, assets, systems. The goal is not to avoid work. The goal is to avoid being completely dependent on work. Daniel spent years helping people grow wealth, but eventually he realized he needed to apply the same principles to his own life. And that realization forced him to confront the third thing he learned. The third thing Daniel learned was one of the hardest lessons for high achievers to accept. Being successful at your career does not always mean you are successful with your money, because there are two completely different games people play. The first game is the income game. The goal is simple: earn more, get promoted, increase your salary, become valuable in the marketplace. And this game matters. A higher income can change your life. But there is another game, the wealth game, and the rules are different. The wealth game is not about how much money comes in. It is about how much money stays, grows, and gives you more options over time. Many people win the income game but lose the wealth game. They become experts at making money but beginners at keeping it. Daniel saw this repeatedly. Some of the smartest people he worked with had incredible careers, but their financial lives were built around one assumption: I'll always be able to earn this much. And that assumption can be dangerous, because a high salary can create a false sense of security. A person starts believing their income is permanent. Their lifestyle starts depending on it. Their commitments increase. Their expenses become fixed. And suddenly, the money that was supposed to create freedom becomes a responsibility they have to protect. This is why wealthy people think differently about income. They don't just ask, "How much do I make?" They ask, "How much of what I make is building my future?" Because the difference between earning money and building wealth happens in the gap between those two questions. Daniel started changing the way he managed his finances. Not overnight, not by becoming extreme. He didn't suddenly stop enjoying life. He simply changed his priorities. Instead of asking what his income could buy today, he started asking what his income could create tomorrow. That shift sounds simple, but it changes everything. Because money is a tool, a person can use the same $10,000 in completely different ways. One person uses it to create a temporary feeling, another uses it to create a permanent advantage. One disappears quickly, the other compounds. And compounding is where the fourth lesson begins. Time is the most underrated asset in wealth building. Most people think investing is mainly about finding the perfect opportunity, the perfect stock, the perfect moment, the perfect strategy. But one of the biggest advantages in investing is not intelligence. It is time. A person who starts earlier and stays consistent can often outperform someone who starts later with much larger amounts of money. This is why wealthy people protect time. They understand that money has the ability to grow when given enough time. A small amount invested consistently for decades can become meaningful because growth builds on previous growth. This is the power of compounding. And it explains why many financially successful people focus less on looking rich today and more on building something valuable over time. Daniel realized he had been measuring success incorrectly. For years, he measured progress through visible things: his title, his salary, his lifestyle. But real wealth was quieter. It was the ability to make decisions without fear, the ability to walk away, the ability to choose. And that led him to another uncomfortable realization. Many people are not chasing wealth. They are chasing proof. Proof that they are successful. Proof that they are ahead. Proof that they are respected. And this is where money connects with psychology. Humans are social creatures. We naturally compare ourselves with others. Behavioral finance researchers have studied how emotions, identity, and social pressure influence financial decisions. A person may buy something not because they need it, but because of what it represents. A luxury watch may not just be a watch. It can represent achievement. A larger house may not just be about space. It can represent status. A premium car may not just be transportation. It can represent arrival. The problem is that status is expensive, because there is always someone with more. A person can spend their entire life trying to prove they have enough, while never actually feeling like they have enough. Daniel saw this clearly in finance. Many people around him had impressive lifestyles, but behind closed doors, they were under pressure. The expensive lifestyle required the expensive job. The expensive job required sacrificing time, and the sacrifice continued. This created a question that changed everything. What if the goal is not to look successful, but to become free? That question is powerful because it changes the entire definition of wealth. A person with a modest lifestyle and strong assets may have more freedom than someone with a huge income and huge obligations. The goal is not to reject success. The goal is to build a version of success that you actually control. And that brings us to the fifth and final lesson Daniel discovered. Your biggest asset is not your paycheck. It is your ability to create options. Because the ultimate purpose of money is not accumulation, it is independence. Money gives you the ability to choose where your time goes. And time is the one resource nobody can earn back. After years in banking, Daniel finally understood something that changed his entire perspective. The job was not the enemy. The salary was not the problem. The ambition was not wrong. The problem was believing that more money alone would automatically create a better life. Because money without purpose can become a trap. Income without a plan can disappear. Success without freedom can feel empty. And that realization eventually led him to make the decision that shocked everyone around him. He left the $300,000 job. Not because he hated success, because he finally understood what success was supposed to create. Freedom. When Daniel finally resigned, many people around him didn't understand. They saw the number, $300,000 a year. They saw the title. They saw the opportunity. And from the outside, leaving seemed impossible to explain. Because society often measures success by what people can see. The job title, the salary, the lifestyle, the things someone owns. But the most important parts of wealth are usually invisible. Peace of mind, control over your time, the ability to make decisions without fear, the confidence that your future does not depend on one company, one position, or one paycheck. That was the real reason Daniel walked away. He wasn't running away from money. He was running toward ownership. And this is where the biggest lesson appears. A lot of people believe financial freedom means never working again. But that is not the real goal. Many financially independent people still work. They build companies. They invest. They create. They pursue projects. The difference is they are no longer working because they have no choice. They are working because they choose to. That difference changes everything. Because there is a massive gap between I have to do this and I get to do this. The first one comes from dependence. The second comes from freedom. Daniel started rebuilding his life around this idea. Instead of focusing only on maximizing income, he focused on maximizing flexibility. He invested more intentionally. He reduced unnecessary financial commitments. He built systems that could support him long term. And most importantly, he stopped measuring his life by how impressive it looked to other people. This is something many people struggle with. They are not always spending money because they love the thing they buy. Sometimes they are spending money because they love what the purchase says about them. But wealth is not created by convincing people you are successful. Wealth is created by building something that works even when nobody is watching. A person can look rich and still be financially fragile. Another person can look ordinary and quietly be building millions in assets. The difference is not always income. It is strategy. It is patience. It is understanding the purpose of money. And this brings us back to the 5 lessons Daniel discovered. First, a high income does not automatically create freedom, because earning more does not matter if your lifestyle requires all of it. Second, lifestyle inflation can silently trap you, because every upgrade creates new responsibilities. Third, winning the career game is different from winning the wealth game, because income creates opportunity, but ownership creates independence. Fourth, time is one of the greatest advantages in building wealth, because consistency and patience allow money to grow. Fifth, the ultimate goal of money is not to impress people. It is to create choices. But perhaps the biggest shift Daniel experienced was realizing that wealth is not about escaping work. It is about escaping dependence. And that idea applies to everyone. Whether someone earns $40,000 a year or $400,000 a year, the question remains the same. Is your money buying you more freedom? Or is your lifestyle slowly taking it away? Because the most dangerous financial situation is not always having too little money. Sometimes it is having enough money to maintain a life you no longer enjoy. A bigger paycheck can hide problems. A better title can hide exhaustion. A more expensive lifestyle can hide a lack of control. And that is why some people who appear to have everything eventually start asking deeper questions. What am I actually building? Who benefits from all this work? Is my money helping me create the life I want? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they are powerful. Because the first step toward building wealth is not always earning more. Sometimes it is understanding what wealth actually means. The richest person in the room is not always the one with the highest income. Sometimes it is the person who has the most control over their time. The person who can say no. The person who can choose. The person whose future is not completely dependent on a paycheck arriving every 2 weeks. Money is powerful, but only when you understand what it is really for. Because at the end of the day, the purpose of wealth is not to own more things. It is to own more of your life. And that is the lesson Daniel learned after leaving a $300,000 banking career. The biggest financial upgrade is not always making more money. Sometimes it is building a life where money finally works for you.